Hello everyone, I'm Mitchell Ryan Darcy and welcome to another year of 31 just watched horror movies. Throughout the year I choose, gather, and set up my list for 31 movies that I've never seen before that are horror related. And basically these are movies I've never seen before, so the idea of it is I watch one each day in October. But this year I'm definitely quite busy, so I'm going to have to start it in advance, so it's not exactly October yet. Yeah, so the way I organized everything is that quite a good mix, so that way, for example, I don't want to have, 20 slasher films in a row, because, by the end of it I get sort of, you get a little dull to that same type of horror, so I break it up. I try to fit old against new and different types, so they're two drastically different films back to back. I try to do it like that, so that way one might not be totally horror and then one's just all out blood everywhere type horror. Like, I do it in that way because I feel like you enjoy the films much better when it's a mix. You don't know exactly what you're going to get, especially the fact that I haven't seen most of these films, if not all of these films. The reason I say that is because I'm starting off with the Underworld 5 movies I think they did. This one I'm not too sure about, that's why I'm starting off with this one, because I know for a fact I've seen the first 2 Underworld movies. I have not. The third one, I'm not sure, because I remember the film. I remember that they go back. It's like takes place way before, in like medieval times or whatever, and I don't know, I can't remember if I've actually seen that film or it's just because I know the trailer and I know sort of the way they went with it, so I'm thinking I may have saw it, may have not. The fourth one I'm the same way. I remember seeing the trailers, I don't remember if I actually seen the film. What I do know for a fact is the 5th movie I have not seen, so depending on what I have seen and what I haven't seen, that's going to be the official start of my October marathon. So I'm going to start off by rewatching this first 2. Hopefully discs are good and all that, because once again, this is the problem when you buy a lot of movies but you haven't get around to watching them. You're afraid. It's like, oh, can I return it after so long? Will I be able to find the original receipt? Stuff like that. So hopefully nothing is bad. Like for example, last year I did American Psycho. I was going to watch it for the first time, but the disc was broken. So luckily I was able to track down a copy of American Psycho for this year. So hopefully that disc is working fine. Let's begin, because this is going to be probably a long video. Just like last year. Last year was like 2 hours and a half. Let's see if I can do it in less time. Anyways.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play?
Do you want to play a game?
Okay, so I just watched Underworld, the extended unrated cut, Underworld Evolution, and Underworld Rise of the Lycans. I've definitely seen the first 2, and I still don't know if the third one I've seen or not. So I felt like I have watched that before. So, but then there was a lot of things I felt were surprising. So I don't know. But I will say the first one's still extremely. It's pretty good film. I mean, it still holds up. Very little about it is cheesy. Like, there's like 1 or 2 little things where it's like unintentionally funny, but for the most part it still works. So the second one, I think, is just a bit weird where they went with it, because but then again, it does take place right after the first one, so it's like it continues it. And then the third one is definitely really out of place, because it's like telling a story that we already knew just from the first 2, but actually showing it. And the third one is just, it seems a lot pointless, and it actually gives a little more questions than answers, especially in the sense that the flashbacks don't 100% match what I just saw in the first two movies when they flash back to the major events of the Rise of Lycans. And it sort of bothered me continuity-wise. But then there's things that left more questions to answer, like the whole how that guy who died in the first movie survived the third movie and stuff like that. So it's like it just bothers me because it's like if you show the third one first and then show the first one and then the second one, you do know something, so it does spoil some things, but at the same time it doesn't. I don't know. It's let's just move on to the fourth one. Underworld Awakens, I think I haven't seen it. The problem is I don't know. I'm like the third one. So I have a bad feeling I'm just gonna kind of remember it, but kind of not, because that trailer sort of stuck in my mind fresh. But the fifth one I know for sure I haven't watched, because that one came out like a year or two ago. So time to watch Underworld Awakens. Expectations is I want to know what happens to the guy Michael, like, because I remember him dying in the second one, but then he actually was still alive by the end of it, and then that whole thing at the end where they're fine now. They don't have the vampire. They don't have the werewolf type things, so they're normal now? Question mark? I don't know. I'm a little bit confused. I want to see what the fourth one is. Does it take place after the second one? Or is it a different story between the first? Oh, I really hope they didn't do that. I really hope it's not before the first one, but after the third one, because then they really screwed up story-wise. Anyways, time to watch. I just watched Underworld Awakenings, Force Awakens. Oh man! Besides the title, I will have to say, I don't know what the hell happened to the Underworld franchise, but man, I guess a lot of people were like, oh, we need something different that takes place afterwards. And it's like, at first I'm like, okay, they're jumping into it. They're being like, oh, okay, they really escalated it from the last time it ended. Like, having the humans suddenly play a big part of it and be like, oh, they discovered there's werewolves and vampires fighting, and then they try to purge and get rid of all of them. It's like, hold on a bit, like that sounded like a more interesting movie. The whole the humans discovering what is happening and then having the whole purge play out like that could have been a movie in its own right, but let's skip all over that. After the purge and all that, she got captured, experiments, stuff, like I didn't like where it went, and I know they were trying to like breathe more life into this franchise. You can sort of tell, because I guess the third one kind of killed it box office wise and all that, until, because I think there's a bit of a gap between the third and fourth one. So, and it was around the time 3D was getting a big push, so they were like, hey, let's do it in 3D, and a lot of moments where it's in your face, and just like 3D. They definitely, I felt like they did things, some things were out of character, like, for example, Celine character. I didn't think she would, the doctor that she interrogates but then froze off the building is like, I don't think that should have happened. Like, I understand, like, I know at first she didn't know what was happening, and so she was trying to fight. She, survival instinct, she had to fight her way out, killing a lot of, guards and people and all that, and then it's like, you're like, okay, morally gray, she's, trying to defend herself, she doesn't know what's happening, all that, and then it's like, after escaping, and then coming back, and then the guy who let her go, and then she's just like, after interrogating and getting the information she kind of wanted, it's like, oh, I'll just let go of you over the side of the building. It's like, technically, at the time of the movie, you didn't know they were Lycans or whatnot, but, and that's the thing, I don't know if all of them were Lycans in that building. I just, one part that sort of really definitely made me dislike was, like, if it felt, a part that I felt was like, it just sort of got rid of my disbelief. I mean, overall these movies, you definitely know it's not real, but like, trying to get invested in all, the first two was pretty easy to get invested. The third one you can sort of just throw away. Not throw away, but like, it's more of a history thing. And so the fourth one is like the part where she saves, the guy got bit. He's a vampire and got bit by the Lycans, werewolves, and it's like, they established several times that no one has been able to survive, 2 bites, except for, just that Michael from the first one, and it's like, and somehow, just by reaching in and starting the guy's heart, he's fine. What the fuck? Couple cool moments, but like, other than that, it's like, for the most part, it fell flat, or the way they did things, it didn't look as good, and I will say the flashing lights are freaking annoying in this film. I mean, I could not imagine seeing this in 3D. Like, that would just be annoying. Like, okay, if you're gonna have one scene where, like, there's flashing lights like that, but, like, the whole building, it's like, oh, the emergency lights are on. What kind of emergency lights in a big office building or science lab building flashes like that? Like, it's everywhere, and the way it goes, and it's every time something goes wrong. They even, I think they had flashing lights in the underground dam building. Like, where the hell did those come from? And it's like, I think there was only one part where the flashing lights were actually kind of cool, and it was like one specific shot, because I can tell they used the darkness of the flashing lights going in sequence to cover the effects of the transition between human to Lycan as they were heading towards her, and like that was a cool moment, but like, was this movie worth it overall? I'm kind of hoping the fifth one is better. I mean, I'm like, okay, at first I'm like, oh, okay, so the humans are gonna be the problem. It's like, how are they gonna face that? Oh, maybe they'll team up together against the humans, or maybe somehow they'll make peace. No, it's the Lycans that are the bad guys again. Oh man, I can just, oh yeah, this movie's gonna annoy me. I'm just gonna move on to the fifth one. Hoping it's saves what the fourth one set up. Like, saves it from the plot they were going with, and like, hopefully maybe they'll find peace by the end of it, please. Like, it would be cool, ending this. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so, yeah. Time to watch, what is the name of it? Underworld, Blood Wars. Such a weird name. I just watched Underworld. All 5 movies in a row. And, Blood Wars, I kind of liked. It was definitely a lot better than the fourth one, which is all I was really hoping for. But the thing is, I'm actually surprised at the fifth one, because I wasn't sure, are they going to throw out the fourth one? Are they going to acknowledge the fourth one? And then, the opening clip montage of the rest of the franchise to get you into this one. And I'm like, the fourth one still seems a little bit out of place in that montage. Surprisingly, even though I disliked the fourth one, and plot and just how it went, the fifth one, even though it wasn't really, well, I guess you could say it could be fixing what the fourth one did, and by acknowledging it, changing it, moving it up and all that, but like, I liked what the fifth one did with the pieces it was given in the fourth one. But it's just, I liked the ending climactic battle. I liked the outcome of the fifth one, even though the very, very last part was slightly confusing. I felt things happened really fast. This movie, the fifth one overall, for some reason, I felt like editing-wise, it was, some scenes, it was like, slow, but not like slow, but like just normal speed. But then there's other scenes where it felt like editing was like instant. Like it was like, okay, they said a line, opening up handed an object, opening the object, then walking away. It's like, it was very cut, it felt like there was a couple frames missing between the cuts, like the editor was trying to rush the scene. Like, I felt it was a little weird in that sense. I kind of liked where the film was going, but then, it added twists and stuff, and I was like, wow, and I'm like, it surprised me, so I don't know if it's because I'm a little bit tired, or because it wasn't exactly predictable, but at the same time it was just sort of like, oh man, we're going this route. Oh well, I'm enjoying it. that's what I got with the fifth one. Well, anyways, that's Underworld was a decent way to start off this marathon. I'll only count 2 of them as part of the marathon, so I'm gonna have to add maybe a couple. I would have to readjust my schedule of the movies, because I do have some backups in case this don't work or stuff happens and I won't be able to watch those films, So, yeah, Underworld, decent. I still dislike that the Steelbook, everything is just, all the discs are on top of each other and you have to dig through the discs to get to a certain movie, but anyways, yeah, so next up is, I don't know, I'm going to bed. Hello everyone, continuing on with my marathon of horror movies. I have a movie that I don't really have any expectations for, and that is Time Walkers, or Time Walker. The Shout Factory was having a clearance sale or whatever, and I picked up this movie. It was pretty cheap, but yeah, I'm literally going off of Time Walker. Nothing can stop him, not even time. And I don't know, I'm just judging from the back here. It looks kind of cheesy, old, low budget. I don't know, maybe a cult classic. I don't know. Nothing. Yeah, there's really nothing here that, to jump up and say, hey, I should watch this movie. So I'm kind of looking forward to the next movie, but not not this one, not so much. So time to watch Time Walker. Well, that was interesting. I just watched Time Walker. Yeah, very almost by the numbers horror, in the sense it's like especially on the Mummy side, you know, stealing stuff, and then it's like, but it's weird. Immediate reaction is like, especially the ending, like, because the whole thing is like, it's almost like, you know, almost like it reminded me for some reason Friday the 13th, for some, like in the way it was shot, where it's like, you know, here's the point of view of the killer going after what they need next. I mean, in Friday the 13th, it's Jason doesn't really have a motive other than killing everyone that's, you know, camp counselor or anyone that's in his way. This Time Walker dude, he's like, oh, I need these little crystal things that someone stole from me, and then basically he's going after each one, and it's like, and so it's like, it has the, and then there's the whole, like, moss thing that burns people, and it's like, so don't touch him, but then he's like, you know, he doesn't want to kill people, he does kill people. It's definitely a bad movie, but it's just interesting how it's like, oh, it was an alien, and then it's like, not of this world, and then that whole ending just left more questions than answers, especially the fact that the first thing you see of the end credits is "to be continued." Oh, like, is there a sequel to this? Oh gosh. Like, I want to know the story behind why it says "to be continued." Like, where does it go after this? Like, is there more? Is there Time Walker 2? I don't know. I have to now look it up. Very brisk movie, so it's like an hour, less than an hour and a half movie, so it's quite short, and unknown cast from what I can tell. I don't recognize anyone. Special effects, this is a very passable horror film, so, you know, if you're really desperate for something that you haven't seen before and you've never seen this and you love horror, I guess check it out, but like, let's not beat around the bush. This is pretty bad. And it's not so bad it's good. I mean, the ending was a little bit so bad it was good. Especially with that gunshot and where it went. Like, camera-wise, it didn't really make sense. Like, what? I'm still trying to reel from that ending. Anyways, let's move on. Let's not give that movie any more screen time on... Let's watch American Psycho with Christian Bale. Now, this I'm super excited for. I haven't seen it. It's the uncut version. All I know is cast-wise. So Christian Bale, William Dafoe, Jared Leto, and Reese Witherspoon. Like, sold early 2000s, so year 2000 horror film. But it's like, I don't know how horror it is. I don't know. I guess it's probably more suspense thriller. But I'm super excited to see this movie. I really hope the disc works, because I firmly believe the disc I had was, I think it was cracked or scratched or broken, and basically my Blu-ray player couldn't read it. So I'm really hoping this brand new packaging of it, I really hope the movie works. I just watched American Psycho, the uncut version, and I'm not gonna lie, kind of went over my head. First of all, it's a well done film, absolutely. It sort of reminded me of like a almost like Fight Club type of vibe, but with just more crazy overall. Makes Fight Club look sane, actually. That's a crazy movie as well, but that one, Fight Club's better, obviously. But American Psycho was, wow. The thing is, it got to a certain point where it's like I think the last 20, 30 minutes of the movie is where it really just messed with my head in the sense that, like, it it I couldn't comprehend what they were trying to say and what actually happened. Was it in his head? Was I just, the way the ending was, I felt like it's now the kind of movie where you have to watch it again and again, like, or you have to rewatch it to get, kind of like a Christopher Nolan movie and stuff like that. Remind me of, like, The Prestige. And the thing is with those movies, is like Christopher Nolan's movies, is like I'm able to get something from the first time watching it. First time I watched American Psycho, I'm just like I know it's good and memorable, but it's just nothing. To quote the ending. Yeah, it was a good movie, and I'm so glad that this worked. But wow, Christian Bale, my gosh. Just gotta say, for American Psycho, I'm never gonna listen to those songs the same way again. Next one I'm watching is Q, the Winged Dragon. David Carradine is in it, and yeah, it looks like it's New York and they're fighting a dragon. Oh, that's what I'm getting just from the art of the cover of the thing. I got it for cheap along with Time Walker and a couple other films, so I'm like, I guess I'll watch it. So I'm expecting probably same level of Time Walker, but hoping for a little bigger scale, because I think it's New York and they're fighting a dragon or some sort of winged creature. I don't know. So hopefully pretty crazy special effects, maybe John Carpenter level, hopefully. I don't know, I'm gonna find out. I know John Carpenter had nothing to do with Q, the Winged Dragon, or the Winged Serpent. Is it Winged Serpent or Winged Dragon? I just watched Q, the Winged Serpent. I always want to say dragon. It's not a dragon, it's a serpent, it's a bird. It's not a plane. It's clearly not Superman. Anyways, David Carradine, it was interesting seeing him in a younger role, and a role that is not Kill Bill. Because I kind of get what they were going for. It's like the old-fashioned, like, sort of like monster creature feature, but this time it's in New York, and it's a more, I mean, at the time, 1982, it was probably a decently modern film, but using the old style, stop motion type creature feature. Low budget, but surprisingly high enough budget that they were able to, film in New York. But anyways, I will say the thing that bugs me is that the plot, how it deviates to, because when I was first watching it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool, this is jumping right into it, people are getting attacked, there's a creature, this movie is going to be quite short, it's going to, you're seeing these random people getting attacked and all that, and little setups, little slight gags, stuff like that, and then it's like, then all of a sudden there's a heist setup, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then it's like, it goes back between the detectives who are figuring out the deaths and all that, and I'm like, okay, I like that's would logically what happened, a bunch of people are being killed, the detectives would get involved, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be neat. But then it's like trying to figure out why the robbery is such a key thing, and the robbery happened, it's very weird. And I felt like it turns out the character I'm watching for the robbery heist sort of plot with the diamonds and all that, the main character that's the main character. And he is a really, I don't know if they purposely written his character like that, but I really disliked this. Like, his character was, I felt, annoying in the sense of, I can take him as that sort of character as like a secondary character or like a character that's like part of a group or something like that. But having him as technically the main star of the film, that was a bit no. Like it's funny because halfway through it, I'm like, they could just cut out this whole part. Like, where does it lead into? And then then it crossovers to the bird, and even then it goes down even further side quest of him and. It bugged me structure-wise as a movie because it's like, I mean, there was a few interesting things and whatnot, but it's like getting through the subplot just so everything can collide together for the final epic. And I will say the last battle on the skyscraper was with the special effects and all that. Like, it's bad but good. Like it was almost worth the slog of getting to that moment. But don't get me wrong, there was a couple of little good things throughout it, but like for the most part, it's just that whole character. I mean, you have to be a really, really big fan of monster creature films in order to appreciate this film, I think. I like the creature features, but it was okay. It's just a lot of sidetracking with this film, with that whole thing. But anyways, for the most part, it's an okay film. Anyways, continuing on. This next one I'm really excited for. Stop me if you heard this one before. I'm really excited to watch this film, and this film is Cult of Chucky. Currently the most newest one, as of recording this. Basically, Curse of Chucky was really good. And I'm not gonna, because when I watched the Chucky franchise, I don't know, I think it was either year 1 or 2. I think it was year 2. Going through each one was really neat. The problem is Seed of Chucky. Oh god, that was awful. I so bad. That's such a weird film. Like, it's not bad in the sense that it was bad, but it's just weird choices and everything. So when they got around to Curse of Chucky, I can't remember what number that is of the Child's Play movies. But basically, Curse of Chucky was actually refreshingly good for a modern. It was because it felt like it was a bit of a reboot, but at the same time, you weren't sure if it was actually connected to the other movies. But then, spoilers, it was sort of continuation from the original ones. So it sort of ended. It wasn't really a cliffhanger, but it was a really good sort of. I think it was a post-credit scene, or if it was the very last scene before credits. Like like I really liked what happened because it led back to, I think, the original, if I remember correctly. So now I want to know where this goes, because Cult of Chucky sort of seems like it's the same style as Curse of Chucky, so it's sort of like its own little trilogy. Is like the modern trilogy for the Child's Play movies. So since the last one was really good, this one is the next one after it. So this one I'm quite excited for. So hopefully it's good. What I also discovered when I was looking on International Movie Database at the upcoming movies, they showed a release date for October for the one after this, Revenge of Chucky, I think it's called. I don't know, because they didn't announce it. It just, I don't know if it's straight to home video, because this one I think was straight to home video. I don't think this one went to theaters, but I could be mistaken. Maybe it was a very limited release, but they're doing Revenge of Chucky. So, and judging from the titles, that's gonna be part of the modern trilogy for Chucky. So. Super excited for that, but let's get through this movie, and I hope this one continues to be as good as Curse of Chucky was. Curse of Chucky is such, I think, underrated in the whole Child's Play thing. Probably one of my favorite ones as well. I actually was tempted to rewatch it just before this, but I kind of don't have the time, so I'm just going to jump into this. I just finished The Cult of Chucky, and my gosh, it was good. Not as good as Curse of Chucky, but I still liked it. I still liked the direction it went in. It was... thing about horror films and mental hospitals, they usually never end well. The thing I love so much about the modern Chucky movies, because they are related to the originals, like all of them are in some little form or another is canon, and I just love how they continued it, but do it in such a way that it can be taken seriously and still have that little bit of humor that the Child's Play series has. I mean, it's absurd. It's a dog using voodoo, or, well, it's a killer using voodoo becomes into a doll. So it's like, it's absurd to begin with if you think about it. So there has to be that little bit of humor. And my gosh, this movie, for the most part, I felt was done well. I love I love the way this movie and Curse of Chucky was shot, like the cinematography and even the editing for the most part. This one, they played around with it a lot, editing wise, which can be very confusing, especially with what they introduced Chucky wise. With Chucky found out the ability to voodoo his way into multiple Chucky dolls, so it got a little confusing because I was like, it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant overall. Like especially Chucky, he's a mad genius. Like him and his cult, you know, being able to just work everything like as things are set up, and it's like, oh, you think it's gonna go this way, and then it's like, oh, it is going that way, and then it's like, oh, there's a twist, and then it's like sometimes you know what the twist is, and then other times you're like, whoa, and then it's like there's so much. I really want to see the new one now. I had to look it up afterwards because there's a reveal of another character, because I knew they were in a previous Chucky movie, but I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched them, and now I want to rewatch them because of where it's going. But she was in Child's Play 2, and so I don't actually remember that one specifically, because I remember the third one. Third one was the army school, military school, and then the first one, well, first one's the thing that's there at all. It's kind of hard not to forget that. But yeah, so I just wonder if she's gonna be in the next one. She probably is. But another thing I wanted to figure out is that's amazing. Because I kind of figured it might have been the original actor who played the kid in Child's Play. And yeah, because Andy was in the first three. And then Seed of Chucky and the Bride of Chucky didn't have him. So, and then it's like, it comes around. I like this. And the thing is, there's no information on Revenge of Chucky. Yeah, October 28, United States. So I don't know if it's Canada as well, or it might be straight to home video, but I don't know if that's... Is this a legit sequel, or is this like something else? See, I don't know if this is related or not. It sounds like it's related. Good focus. Enhance! Anyways, yeah, Revenge of Chucky. I mean, that sounds like it's in the vein of it. I mean, Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, Revenge of Chucky. The only thing is it doesn't start with C. Well, this horror marathon has been pretty tame so far. Like, so currently the most scariest thing is my really crazy hairdo. Look at this. Looks like friggin' snakes and shit. Like, look at that. I'm losing my hair. That's how stressed I am. I'm gonna be bald in a couple of years. I can see it now. And you get to view that on my channel as I slowly progress and lose all my hair. Hello everyone, I want to play a game. it's time for the Saw franchise. I haven't seen any of them. But yeah, I have all 7 films. Yeah, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7 films. And then I also have Jigsaw, which is the newest one. But yeah, super excited to watch this series. I heard it's for the most part, it's not like it was very creative, original horror idea, and it was so popular they were able to do 8 movies related to it. So yeah, so the first one at the very least must be really good. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is I'm not sure, I think the first one was spoiled for me a long time ago. I don't know if you remember G4 Tech TV. It was like a TV channel where they had Attack of the Show, X-Play, reviews on the run, stuff like that, and it's all video game and tech related and all that. And so I think it was X-Play, they did a countdown, but they sort of spoofed Saw a bit, and I think in that they spoiled the first movie, I think, where it's like if they're in a bathroom type area, but like the guy who's lying there dead is actually not dead. I don't know if that is true or not, or maybe that's the whole twist of the film. So I kind of know that going into it, unfortunately, but I don't know, maybe they were referencing a different movie. Maybe it's not even Saw related. I don't know, but I have a good feeling it's Saw related, but hopefully there's a lot more to this movie than just like a twist or whatever. So yeah, time to watch Saw, the first one. It's just plain Saw. Holy crap, I just watched Saw, the first one, and my gosh, extremely, that's definitely the best film I've seen for this marathon so far. Really well done. You know, man, I was shocked. I was surprised. I didn't know Danny Glover was in it. I did not know Michael Emerson was in it. I loved him in Lost, and I loved him in Person of Interest, and it's like seeing him in this. It's one of those things where it's like the problem is when casting someone who's unknown at the time and then have them go famous later on, like, you know, get a lot of good work and all that, is that when you go to watch the older stuff, like, it's supposed to be a surprise who the killer is, in the sense of and it's like, as soon as I saw him, because I saw him in the hospital, I'm like, oh, that's cool, he's in this film for a brief bit. And then it's like the first scene with the you see the guy behind the camera with the gloves and all that, and speaking. I'm like, that's Michael Everson's voice. I can tell. Well, I'm like, oh, he's the killer, and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, extremely great film. My only thing that I kind of dislike, and the thing that doesn't really hold up as well, surprisingly, is the music video type editing, where it's like really quick and really dramatic. Like, for example, when Amanda has the steel trap and she discovers she has it, the camera spins around her, and it's like all really fast and jarring, and it's like it'd be cool in a music video, but like, you know, you couldn't keep this a little more serious. Like, that's the only thing that I felt was sort of like, I would definitely have not have done it that way, but like that music video type thing. Like, the chase scene was a little bit ridiculous, and in the sense of just the way it was cut and edited, but I mean, it was cool because I don't think I've seen that in any other movie, so it definitely stands out. But it's like, kind of wish it was a little more dramatic, like serious. But yeah, unfortunately, this movie one part of the movie was spoiled for me, and that was that the guy who was lying there in the pool of blood was still alive. And I'm a little annoyed that... I mean, there was so much more surprising in the film, like the layers and all that, and them trying to find out secrets and all that, and then while trying to not kill themselves, and it's like... Oh, man. But yeah, it turns out the main Jigsaw killer guy was the guy who was lying there on the floor, but he didn't, because I was thinking, I'm like, oh, okay, so Michael Emerson's the killer, and then it's like, after he gets killed, when he goes to check on them, by the photographer guy, it's just like, oh, the music starts playing. Oh, which I was waiting for, because I was shocked they did not use that theme early on. And I'm so glad they waited until the end to use that theme, because it just added that much more punch to it. Like, we're talking... Because, I just recently rewatched the original Halloween in theaters. It's the 40th anniversary, and I figured it would be good to see that before seeing the new one, especially the fact that they got rid of the sequels. It's literally the first one to the new one. That's where the new one takes place. So, and I was rewatching that, and it's like they had the Halloween theme from start to finish. They replay it several times throughout the movie. You get a little bit tired of the music, but at the same time, it is just that effective as well. So the Saw theme, it's like, I was surprised how much it was lacking throughout the entire film. Like, even music in general, like, it was more dramatic noise, sound effects, stuff like that, and then it's like, photos, and then it's like, and then when you get to the big reveal and the music starts building up, and it's like, like, it's such a great theme. And then it's revealed that Michael Emerson was actually part of the game, in the sense that he was playing his own game. He had a poison and he needed an antidote in order to live, but the problem was... So it's like so many levels. I'm like, wow. I definitely got more out of the film than I thought I would, but wow. Super excited to see the other ones. The thing is, I'm surprised because I've been playing Dead by Daylight lately, and Dead by Daylight, if you don't know, is a game where it's 1 versus 4, and basically 1 is the killer and the other 4 is survivors in a ring round, and Let's Play of that coming soon. Tease, wink, probably next year. But anyways, so there's a Saw DLC to it, and you play this girl as a pig, and in the Saw themed DLC, and so Detective Tapp, I did not realize that was Danny Glover, so that was cool. So because I thought they were inspired by the movies. I didn't think they were actually directly related to the movies, because seeing the puppet guy, Jigsaw puppet, and it's like, you always think, oh, it's like, is that the killer? Like, because I never watched these movies. I've seen very little clips and stuff like that, and it's like you see the puppet guy, so it's like, I always thought, like, maybe that's the killer, or I don't know, like, I never seen the movie. So now I've seen the movies, and it's like, Jigsaw is somebody else, so it's like, who's the pig? And in this one, they had the pig in it, but they didn't reveal who the pig was. And so I think the game sort of spoiled it for me, because the game said that the name of the killer is Amanda something else. I forget her last name, but Amanda is her first name, and Amanda was the one with the trap in this one, so she, I guess, becomes helping of Jigsaw's master plan, like, because you need to accomplish when you're doing crazy shit like this. So she started off as the victim, but then, after that, she sort of, I guess, got into it. But I think that's really the only other thing that's been spoiled for me for the Saw franchise. So I assume the second one will probably have that reveal. But yeah, I really love the way this ended. Ending amazing, story good. really good. Like, it's a really good low budget film. Like, you know, I was surprised. I was overall surprised by it. So, anyways, I'm super excited to watch Saw. Is it called Chapter 2 or is it just Saw 2? I don't know. I'm gonna find out. I just watched Saw 2, and yeah, not as good as the first one, but I did like that they tried to do sort of the same thing with the first one. Like they tried to make a really shocking ending, twists and turns with the music playing and all that, and it's like it kind of saves the overall film, but for the most part, like the setup was nice, but like where it played through and how it played through with the house, it just didn't really work that well, I felt. I think they were trying a little too hard on the editing now to be like the first one and being all like fast, slow, cut, and several moments where it's like it would be you'd be a character in the house, the camera's on them, and then it would move to the left really fast and it would transition, but you didn't see the transition to another character in that same house, and it's like it felt like they were right next to each other, but it's really transitions, I mean, they were cool, but like it's just it kind of throws you off and it like goes back and forth, and then it's like overall it's okay. I'm kind of hoping for a lot better when it comes to the third one. Yeah, so that was spoiled for me because of Dead by Daylight. Amanda is the pig. A nice little scene reveal of the bathroom from the first one, but once again felt maybe it was a bit ruined by the editing. Because it's not it's annoying. It's not annoying, but like to me it bugs me because it's like if it was any other movie, it would be like, you know, serious and, you know, it lets you imagine it or that, but like it's so many jump cuts and like fast, forward, slow, fast, all over the map, and it's like music video. It's like, and then, you know, I think there was a moment here where it's like some rock music and it was like, yeah. Like a lot of the traps and all that, like it didn't. Jigsaw is sort of losing his goal, because I was under the impression Jigsaw, even though I never saw the series up to this point, but like now seeing it, I'm like, I always thought he was a little more, you know, trying to teach people a lesson in that, and in this one it did feel really lacking, especially with some of the setups and all that, like the furnace, and it's like, okay, so there's 2 syringes, one for yourself and then one you can donate to someone, and then you pull the other one, it locks you in there and starts to burn you, and it's like, how was you supposed to get out of there? How was, like, I know he was a con man, but like getting burned, he burned a lot of people in the sense of, you know, left them hanging or left them in the dust or whatever, like, you know, from all the jobs he did or whatever, like, because he's a con man, I get it, but it's like, and then there's other ones where it's like the girl, when she goes to reach her hands in there for the serum, but like she doesn't read the note, she doesn't do the tape, so it's like, what was the setup for that? You lose your arms? Like, you get to save yourself, but you lose your arms? Like, but I'm like, what's the lesson there? I don't know. It's like, it felt like there was things that were, yeah, it's just I didn't like how the whole house setup of it played out, but, the idea of it was good, but yeah. So anyways, hopefully Saw 3. Maybe it'll be like, you know, one of these series where it's like every other film is really good. So maybe the third one's really good, and then the fourth one's bad, and then the fifth one's really good, and the sixth one's bad. Like, maybe the even numbers are the bad movies. I don't know. Time to watch Saw 3. Or Chapter 3. Or is it just free? I think it's just free. Saw 3. Well, I just watched Saw 3. And for most part, I liked it, but once again, it's the same sort of thing where it's like at the end, it's like they try to make everything come together, surprise things, tell information and all that, but like, kind of hard to keep up that trend. Anyways, yeah, I really liked the tramps were definitely very creative, and the whole thing with Amanda was a little bit, yeah. I mean, at the end of it, it was kind of it's funny. There's things in this movie where it's like, yes, it was unexpected, but that's what it was good, and it was done well. And then there's other moments where I'm like, why that choice? And it's like, it's very weird. I do want to continue watching. I want to see how long does this keep going, because right now it's the third movie in and they're all connected. They all are related to one another. And then it's like how far does it go? Is part 4, part 5, part 6, like, because I remember growing up and I remember seeing bits of the trailers and all that as they were being released, and it's basically almost one per year. Every time around Halloween there would be a Saw movie, and it's like, the other ones, they're like, later ones is like, I don't see any connection to this one, so it's like, I'm wondering when it's going to stop being too connected. Yeah, it was kind of cool seeing the film version of the meat plant area, because that's in the game Dead by Daylight, they have the level for Saw, and it's that factory area, and it's like it's just kind of cool seeing it as like that room is almost like spot on to it in the game. So it's like, overall I felt it was a lot better than the second one. For me, it's so weird because it's almost like each movie Amanda changes drastically, whether it is appearance or the way she acts and all that, and it's like I don't think they had a set plan, and then each movie afterwards they keep trying to be like, oh yeah, this is part of our master plan. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're creating as they go, so it's a bit of continuity and all that, like just story-wise and all that, and getting everything connected. And it kind of bugs me that the movies are trying so hard to get everything connected to the first one, and couple of unnecessary scenes, but in this movie they kind of worked overall. Like, the only thing to me that really stuck out as bad or weird was the first two trap deaths, which early on, but then again they were hinting at things that came later on, so it's like, overall positive experience. Better than the second one. First one's still the best. It's been several weeks since I've watched Saw 3, so now it's a good time to continue on with the marathon. I had to put it on hold due to various things. Yeah, so I'm very excited to see how the rest of this plans out, because I assume, because they're still going chapter this, chapter that, chapter 4, chapter 5, so it's like all the way up to the last chapter, which is the 7th movie, so it's like, does that mean it's still connected? Like, the first 7 movies are all connected, and then Jigsaw is like I don't even know what the new one was. Like, I guess, maybe it's a copycat killer. Like, I don't know. I'll get there when I get there, but... Wow! I just watched Saw 4, and my gosh, that was one of the better ones. Like, that is probably... I don't know, that I felt this movie was almost on par with the first one. It was that good. I'm just loving how well they did, still tying everything up, continuing and using the way the Saw franchise is, like, using pieces they set up in other movies and all that, and like they're leaving nothing unturned in the terms of set pieces that, characters that like They didn't have to go back to one of the deaths in the other one, but they did. But then it's like, it makes sense, especially the ending, and it's like, oh man. Yeah, because it's like some things I clued in, and I'm like, oh, that's the plan, and all that, and it's like, I had those moments of realization, and then at the same time, there was a totally unexpected thing, editing-wise, and everything, and it just, oh man, I loved the fourth one, and just as much as the first one, but like, wow. It's kind of like everything that I was expecting from a Saw film, like before watching any of the Saw films, like, you know, the stuff had more of a meaning and message behind it, and it made more sense than, you know, the execution of the second one. I totally forgot that the fourth one had music in Rock Band. It's a game, music-based game I really love, and for DLC they had a song by Japan X called, I guess, well, IV or 4, and when they announced it, is like, because I didn't know the Saw franchise, but people were saying, oh, it's the theme for the fourth one, it's the main song they made for the fourth movie, and I didn't clue in until they started playing it for the end credits, and that was cool. I love that song. That's a tremendously good song. And I also noticed, end credits wise, apparently this one's been filmed entirely in Toronto, Canada. So that's cool. That's near me, you know. Oh, editing, amazing. They did do that transition thing that I remember in the second one, that I didn't like it in the second one because it was some points where I'm like, oh, are they in the same room or whatever? But this fourth one kind of made that transition work really well, and plus those transitions were really, really cool, like wipes subtly, and then the whole backstory, like they integrated. This movie was well structured, especially compared to the second one. Okay, I gotta stop dissing the second one. The second one's becoming the thing I keep picking on, but the second one wasn't that bad. It was okay, like, you know, baseline. This fourth one makes up for that one, and it actually makes it goes well with the third one. And the third one I kind of liked. Because I didn't think it would go in that direction, so I just kind of definitely like how it's sort of all coming together in second, third, and fourth. Well, yeah, this movie basically, it's like, I don't know how much longer they're gonna keep this up. I'll let you know when the momentum ends, because like this keeps just somehow adding to the other ones and just keep going. And I know the production of the Saw movies, like the first 7, each one was like done a year after the other. So for example, the first one came out, and a year later the second one came out, and the year after that the third one came out. Like, it was literally year after year of Saw movies. So it's like, I don't know how much of it was pre-planned, like, because first one, you know, the main movie was planned, but like, did they set this up for the sequels? Did they plan the sequels ahead of time? What was planned? What was not planned? Like, it kind of makes me question, or is like, what was thrown together last second? What was, you know, improvised? Like, oh man. Yeah, so next up I'm gonna watch the fifth one tomorrow. Well, anyways, I don't know what to say. Time to watch Saw 5. I mean, how is this new guy gonna carry on Jigsaw's legacy? Like, that's really the only question I have at this point. Time to watch. Well, I just watched Saw 5. And, well, first I have to say is that the disc was actually incorrectly labeled. It says that the third disc has Saw 5, 6, and 7, when in fact Saw 5 is actually on the second disc of the complete collection that I got. You know, it still has the movie. The movie's not missing. It's just on a different disc from what it's labeled, which it's okay. But anyways, yeah, once again, it's still continuing, but at the same time, at this point, it's getting to the point where about more than half of the film is filler backstory that takes place beforehand, just to show another side of everything that was done previously. But you know what? I'm still enjoying it. Continuity is doing a pretty damn good job in the sense of items and stuff, like because I can't imagine them filming all of this in advance. Yeah, they had to probably recreate some scenes and sets, because I don't think they planned this that far in advance and shot the films back to back, or certain scenes back to back for other films. But like, part of me at the same time is like, did they? That's how good it is. The ending, though, even though it did do, I felt the ending here was a little more predictable, though. Not on the people playing the game part of it, but the detective side of things and how that's gonna pan out. Especially in the last bit. Like, as soon as the phone call was, like, being tracked, I kind of knew where this was going, and it sort of, though it didn't end exactly how I imagined it, a little bit predictable, but I still enjoyed it, and the music theme is pretty damn good. Like, like the fact that before even watching the Saw series for the first time, even I already knew the theme song to Saw without actually seeing any of the Saw movies. Like, that's you have a good theme where you know the theme without actually seeing the actual movie. Like, say you never watched Jaws before in your life, I'm pretty sure you know the theme to Jaws. Like, I'm still excited. I don't know how the hell this keeps going for, like, because chapter 7 is the final chapter, and I know that for a fact because it says final chapter in the title of the movie. But it's like, I didn't realize how connected these movies were, because I remember back then when I was younger, I see the trailers for them, and I actually thought it was kind of funny in the sense I'm like, oh, it's kind of stupid that they're still, like, with sequels in general, especially on the horror side of things, you're like, how the hell do they keep doing this, keep doing sequels, and, and it's like, this franchise seems, surprisingly, if you think about it, a lot different from, say, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and all that, because, like, they have some loose connections between films and that, but this is the first time, now that I think about it, like, horror franchise-wise, where it's like, every movie is directly related. Like, it kind of messes with your mind, like the 4th and 5th one, and how connected they are to the first three, and as well as the 4th one, and then it's like, it just keeps going back and forth, and it's all being wrapped up together, and it's a really neat experience. It's like, the Saw franchise is definitely being a star of this horror marathon so far. Yeah, so tomorrow I'm gonna watch Saw 6, and a part of me wants to see him get caught, but at the same time, a part of me doesn't. Like, it's like, that's because I mean that he's the last one standing of the Jigsaw's group, unless there's another person that they haven't shown yet, and then they're gonna reveal them later on. Like, that's the only thing I can think about. Like, but I don't know. I guess I'll see. Anyways, I just watched Saw 6, and it's good. It doesn't even feel like they're actually, like, struggling to come up with ideas. It just feels very thought out, like, and planned out. Like, at this point, watching this movie series, it feels like I'm watching a really good TV show. it's just that good. I'm just shocked because usually with horror films, it's like sequels. They struggle to come up with ideas or they do something drastically different. And this one, I'm just looking through it, like just from the credits. I'm thinking not the same director directed each one. So it's like, even though it's not the same director, it's like it's still like you could have fooled me. This could have been all shot back to back, and I could not tell that there's been, a year between things. Like, that's just how good it is. The seventh one, which is coming up, I think is going to be really interesting because I remember distinctly, trailer-wise, the seventh one, because that was the most recent one that wasn't the Jigsaw one that's happening after. Over a period of 7 years, they shot, written, and did each film one after the other. Every year, every Halloween, they would release a Saw film all the way up to this final chapter, which is named the final chapter. And then there's that 7-year or 8-year gap between the final chapter and the new Jigsaw movie that came out last year. I'm going to assume if there's going to be a big disconnect, it's going to be that film. But the thing is, it's weird because I remember the seventh movie, the trailer for it, I remember it catering to the 3D audience with the, it's in your face, and so I feel like the seventh movie is going to be ruined by that, but I don't know. Is it going to feel drastically different? And another thing I want to know is, how is it all going to end? Because I kind of remember it's like the traps are now in public or something like that, or something. I remember very little of it, and I do remember them talking about it being filmed in Toronto, but seeing the end credits for each one, most of them, like the ones where I really started paying attention, like the 4th, 5th, and 6th, they were all filmed in Toronto. So it makes me wonder if the first 3 were actually filmed entirely in Toronto, Canada. But I would have to recheck that. But the 6th one had an end credit scene, because I was looking out for those as well. And once again, it just makes me think any piece that has not been used, that they established early on, is gonna be used. Like, at this point, I'm trying to figure out what happened. The ending of the second one, I forget what happened to the detective's kid. Like, did he die? Because it's funny because I watched that several weeks ago. Like, between the 3rd and 4th one, there was a several week gap where I was doing other things. So it's like, I actually don't remember what happened to the kid. So I'm assuming if he wasn't killed off there, because I don't remember for the life of me. I remember a lot of the Saw franchise. I just don't remember what happened to the kid, because the second movie is the one that I felt was the odd one out of the series. And then it's like, okay, so now the girl is going to be used. The little girl from the 3rd one, who was saved in this one or the last one. Like, it's so blurred continuity and story-wise. It's like, which one was which? Like, I have an idea of certain ones, like the 3rd one was there's the specific points, but then it's so seamless. Like, this could be watched as one whole movie almost. And the only thing is, because the only thing I've noticed change-wise between the beginning and end is just how better it's shot, and maybe edit. Like, because if you watch the very first one, you did feel that low-budget feel, especially with the car chase and the car things. But now it's at this point, I'm sure the Saw franchise was making so much money that they can do whatever they want, film-wise almost. So, yeah, kind of excited to see what supposedly is called the final chapter, and then, yeah, but that's gonna be tomorrow. I just watched Saw Chapter 7, the final chapter of all the main Saw series. The only reason why I have it in 2 discs now is because the middle disc holder for this one is broken, so I had to use my American Psycho case of last year, just so I can have it all fit. So the disc is not going around getting destroyed. But anyways, a bit surprised by the movie. But at the same time, kind of disappointed overall. First of all, you can already tell it's a bit of a disappointment when the title appears and it says Saw 3D and not just Saw 7 or Saw the final chapter, which is what it should be called. It was exactly how I feared it would be, that the 3D gimmick didn't overshoot it, but like it almost ruined a franchise. Like, it's the final chapter, everything's colliding, why do you have to switch to try to do the gimmicky 3D just to earn a bit extra money when it comes to stuff? And it's like, disappointing choice on the producers and everyone on the filmmaking side of this film, who decided and forced upon the Saw franchise to have it called Saw 3D. Like, it's even the credits, it's credited as Saw 3D. It's not even Saw 7. A lot of the moments you can tell was set up just for the 3D effect. But looking past that, you can, it was decent overall. It's just kind of felt a little weird where it went, but it was like, kind of made sense at the same time. Yeah, 7 movies in, I'm kind of surprised where it went. Surprise reveal. It wasn't really that big of a surprise, because in the first one, I thought the doctor guy survived, but then I was thinking, my first thought is like, oh no, he died, because what happened was when he closed the door and said game over, I'm like, oh, he failed, so he's gonna kill him. But then I totally forgot, after watching all these movies, it's like, Jigsaw himself, he doesn't kill. He deplores killing. He hates that. So why would he, even though someone failed, purposely, shoot them or kill them or put them out of misery? So it actually, I totally forgot. And so in that sense, I was just under the impression he was dead. But now that I think about it, it's like all the people who do sort of kill or whatever, or like do things wrong, are the assistants. That's Amanda Young and Detective Hoffman. It's kind of cool to finally see him get his comeuppance. Took long enough. I kind of wish he did get his comeuppance at the end of the 6th movie, but then it's like, unfortunately the series felt like it needed a villain, so that's why it was like they needed him alive for one more movie, and the character. And I will say, I remember trailer-wise, it was like the whole thing was themed around like the games being outside in public areas and all that. And then it's like, watching the film, it's like there was only one, and it was at the beginning. And I was like, wow, I have to go back and watch the trailers now, because it's like I felt a little bit lied to there. Yeah, it was actually kind of funny in the opening scene, because me talking about it's being filmed in Toronto, and they show Roy Thompson Hall, which is a kind of iconic building in Toronto. Like, it's not CN Tower type iconic, but it is. There's not really a building shaped like that elsewhere and in any other movie, so it does kind of stick out. And I don't know where they're taking place, judging, I guess assume New York, because they don't actually say New York from what I can tell, but like the news and all that, it seemed like it was trying to be New York, but it's like, yeah, that made me laugh. Another really odd choice was, why is the lead singer of Linkin Park in this movie? That was a bit of a surprise. Yeah, so the doctor guy's still alive. I mean, it made sense now that I think about it. It's like, Jigsaw didn't cut open people. He couldn't do that. Because he was good at mechanical stuff. He wasn't good at the human inside, so it only made sense that the doctor guy was helping him all along. And I just thought it was brilliant, because it's like, all the survivors, it felt like there's a bit of the survivors carry on the legacy of Jigsaw because now they see. So it's almost like a cult forming, and I kind of like that idea. I'm actually shocked that they didn't try to run the series into the ground like a year or two afterwards with a sequel involving the survivors and them making more, like, the expanding of Jigsaw and having it happen worldwide. Like, I'm surprised the studios didn't cash in on that. So it's going to be very interesting because 7-8 years later, so 2010, so it was like, 7 years later they did Jigsaw movie. And that movie I have not, I didn't see the trailers for it and all that. And it just sort of appeared in theaters, and it's like, wow, they made a movie related to the Saw franchise. But I never watched the Saw franchise, so I wasn't really paying attention as well. And so I want to see where it goes, but a part of me is also thinking, what happened? Because the end credit scene for the 6th Saw movie was it the 5th? I'm losing track. That's how interwoven these films are of when specific moments happen, because they show them again and again and show different sides of it throughout, and it's like, oh. But yeah, the daughter of the guy who went for the trials in the 3rd movie, the nurse doctor that was killed, well, he was killed as well, but he wasn't killed on screen in the 3rd movie. He was killed on screen in whatever movie afterwards. But like, why, Amanda, tell her, don't trust the guy who rescues you. The guy rescues her, and it's like, where did that go? So if I had any guess, the new Jigsaw movie, it has to be somewhat related to her. That's the only thing I can think about, because it's like, they set that piece up. They even do an end credit scene, which they haven't done to any of the other Saw movies. Just that one has an end credit scene. And it's like 7 years later, so she would be grown up at this point if the timeline is accurate to the year after. Like, that 7-year gap is her growing up. And so she's going to be older. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they just dropped her altogether, and so there's no mention of her in the next movie, your Jigsaw movie. So it's like, I don't know what they're gonna do. So I want to see how connected Jigsaw movie is to the other movies. What I do know is I did see, because I was looking it up way after. Like, I did a Ruby AMV called Blake Just Running Scared, and I used the song Running Scared by Roy Orbison. But it wasn't until later on, several months later, I stumbled across that they used Running Scared in the movie trailer for Jigsaw, and I looked it up, and I believe because that's the thing about when a trailer drops and it uses a song in such a way that no one's ever thought they would use it before. A lot of people start copying it, like in YouTube videos and edits and all that. So it's like, for example, Logan, when the trailer dropped and he used Johnny Cash's Hurt, a lot of people started emulating that style and everything. So it's like, so I actually thought it was interesting that I sort of, like, it didn't really catch on as big as the Logan Johnny Cash Hurt thing, but like, I thought it was neat that I used the song in AMV before a major studio used it for the trailer release. And so I thought that was interesting. I don't know, that's kind of off topic, but it just, I assume it's not gonna be connected. Like, I mean, 7-year gap, I mean, there's gotta be some sort of connection, but I don't see it being as woven together as the first 7 Saw movies. So I just watched Jigsaw for the first time, and my gosh, yeah. Now this is sort of the example. See, when I'm thinking of the sequels for Saw, this is what I was under the impression it was going to be. Like, in the sense of, seems a bit distant from the very first one. A lot of choices that are like a little out there, but like kind of feels like a studio kind of cashing in on it, sort of thing. Like this is sort of the, when I think horror sequel to a classic, this is sort of the product you get. Like, that's what this felt like. 7 years since they filmed the part 7, and it's like, it definitely felt this one stuck out the most. Like, just the way it was shot and all that, you can tell it was more newer cameras and technology in the sense of the actual them filming the film, and like the way the shots look in that, like, it most of the time is daylight, which is weird because, you know, after seeing the first 7 movies, there's not a lot of, I don't remember any times where it takes place during the day, like very little, and if so, it's like dark or rainy or it's indoors, like, so, you know, seeing actual broad daylight type set streets and parks and stuff like that, it was a little jarring, especially in the beginning. Interesting end product. I gotta say, the ending sort of, I mean, it definitely felt like it was part of the Saw franchise. Like, it you know, thinking back to it, the first 7 movies were so kind of together that this movie on its own is like, it's so hard to explain. It's like they had the right pieces and all that, but it just maybe just didn't feel as original, or I don't know. It's kind of my complaint, because I'm thinking back to the first 7, and it's like each one at the end they sort of do a shock reveal, surprise reveal, music theme plays, and it's like and it's like, you know, flashbacks showing a whole new side of the event, the reveal that something's taking place actually way beforehand in the timeline, and it's only being revealed now that it's already happened, and it's like stuff like that, and it's like it almost, yeah, that's what this movie felt like. It felt like a by the numbers sequel for Saw, which is weird because 5 or 6 movies into the original side, it didn't feel like by the numbers. It felt like it was actually quite connected. So it's like this movie felt like it was distant, but almost like a copycat killer. Though I did like the reveal of this movie, like the sort of the ending and that, and I didn't really comment throughout my reviews the actual specific traps or all that. The simple one, that was, I mean, the dialogue was a bit on the nose, but it was I liked it. I overall it was okay. Like, this is definitely not the worst of the Saw franchise, but it's definitely nowhere near the best. I mean, if you love the first 7 movies, definitely check out Jigsaw. And now that I think about it, just because this movie just came out last year, what's the chances of them doing a sequel to this? Like, at that point, it's kind of, in my mind, I'm like, they're kind of stretching this out. Like, how long can they go back and say, oh, John came up with this while he was still alive, sort of biz? Like, you know, how long of a period of time was he still alive for and all that? It's like, it's kind of funny. Like, yeah, like, there's moments where I'm like, because I just finished watching the first 7, when I went to watch this movie, I was like, okay, I'm expecting there's gonna be a twist. Someone's gonna be actually the killer or stuff like that, or working together. And I'm like, there was one specific moment where a switching of a key piece of evidence, bullet, and I was like, the way they shot it, I'm like, he switched the bullet there. But the problem is, I couldn't clue into, is he part of it? Is he the main guy? Is he whatever? And then, you know, the movie did throw me off of that trail and various other trails as I was theorizing about the film. And so overall, I think Jigsaw, it was a pretty good Saw movie for it not being called Saw, Jigsaw. But the ending, like, do you have to always end with a door and somebody dramatically shutting it? Like, you can't come up with a more original ending. like like, for the first 7 chapters, there was a couple times where there's the door and closing epic line and stuff like that, and it's like, first 3 times it was fine. I enjoyed it, but like, now it's like, he didn't even say the game over line, so it's like, I guess I liked it. Anyways, moving on. Tomorrow, I'm going to be watching a lot of movies in a row to catch up. Yay! The struggle of watching movies. Time to watch Train to Busan. As you can see, I still haven't opened it yet. But, yeah, this movie, the reason why I'm watching it is because I've heard, because this movie came out 2016, 2017, so within the last 2 years, and apparently it's a really crazy, really well done zombie film. That's all I need to know, okay? I don't need to say more. I'm excited. Let's jump into it. I haven't had zombies this year, so I'm so glad I got this with the slipcover though, and for $10, so that was amazing. I just watched Train to Busan, and it was everything that I thought it was gonna be. It was great. It was crazy, and pretty good zombie film. Absolutely. I definitely would recommend checking it out if you love zombies but never actually heard of this film or seen this film. Pretty good. I just want to say, in the beginning, I wasn't sure what to choose, because usually I do, if there's an English dub of a film like this, I would always generally choose that first for the first time viewing, and then, because I know if I'm going to watch the film again, then I'll watch in the true version with English subtitles. So it's like, for this one, after the first scene, I was like, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it as it truly is with the English subtitles. So that's the way I watched it. I still wouldn't mind checking out the dub version. It's just bullshit. Yeah, still pretty good. I think I like it because it kind of reminded me a bit of World War Z, with all the zombies piling up like that. But it was a lot more realistic. Like the parts where they're piling through, pushing through, like it seemed a little more practical. You can tell they mixed the practical with the CGI effects a lot better in this movie than World War Z. My only real complaints with the film is, like, it didn't need that specific one guy to be bad, like always a villain sort of thing, like selfish, survivor type thing, it's all about him. Like, I felt like you could have had one moment with him like that, but they didn't need to have his character go on that for long. I felt the film didn't need that. It could have been, somebody else who got infected. Like, it didn't have to specifically be that one guy. Like, I just felt, I liked the music for the most part. It was a bit dramatic, over dramatic in certain sections. Like, especially like the title of the movie, where it's like Train to Busan. It's like dun dun. But I like the bit. There's like certain couple moments where it's like an organ. I like piano organ. I thought that was interesting. The song that Kid sings, I actually didn't clue into what song that was until the very end. But when I realized what song it was, it did actually make me even more sad. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a sad version of that song ever. Yeah, time to move on. What's next? Drag Me to Hell, the Sam Raimi film. I have no idea what the film's about. It's just, I guess. Oh yeah, okay. So the tagline's like, this girl is about to go to hell in like 3 days or something like that, or like something. I forget the tagline specifically, but like, meet this person. This person's going to hell. So, I don't know, it's Sam Raimi, he does Evil Dead, Spider-Man, and all that, and, like, everything he does directing-wise, like, there's always those little elements of horror, like when he did, Wizard of Oz, the sequel, Oz the Great and Powerful, and Spider-Man. There are, if you watch those, there are elements of horror in those things. Just, surprise, camera cuts, scary moments. Like, they're done extremely well, and it's like, it doesn't have to be a horror film to have those type of moments. And so Sam Raimi, when he does do horror, it seems like, it's no holds barrier, If you've never seen the Evil Dead franchise and, you you like horror, what are you doing? And a TV show ain't bad either. I mean, I've only seen season 1, and that is amazing. But anyways, so Drag Me to Hell, I don't know, I'm expecting just a great one-off horror film. Like, because I don't think they did sequels or anything that I know of. It came out, 10 years ago, so it's going to be a bit of the modern type of horror, so hopefully it doesn't rely too much on jump scares, or if it does have jump scares, I hope it's very creatively done. I don't know, I mean, it's Sam Raimi, so there should be a bit of fun creativity to it, so. I just watched Drag Me to Hell. What a ride. Yeah, for the most part, it's just, this movie felt like it was more of an excuse for Sam Raimi to go back and do his trademark classic Evil Dead style, the camera angles, the way it's shot, the scenes where fighting the old lady, it's this is like Evil Dead, but without Ash, because it's 2009, so there's a lot more integrating of newer, CGI and computer technology and that, but still having a lot of the practical stuff as well. So, overall story, it's just, I kind of enjoyed it, but at the same time, I kind of didn't, because it was I don't know, it was definitely not the way I was expecting the movie, but after seeing it, I'm like, really? This is Drag Me to Hell? This is... it was actually kind of funny in certain sections. It's weird because it's that line between, it's not bad, it's not great, but somewhat entertaining, somewhat fun, but same time somewhat scary, and it's I don't know, I'm a bit mixed on this movie just overall. I kind of liked how the music was it felt like it was a classical music. It seemed I don't know if that was the soundtrack or that's an actual classical song throughout it, but either way, if that is the original soundtrack to Drag Me to Hell, it sounds like it's an actual, piece of orchestra music, yeah, there's a couple moments in this I liked, really liked, just how it was done or how it looked. Yeah, the unrated version didn't really feel like anything. I'm trying to figure out what they would cut for the theatrical version, because overall this movie was pretty tamed. Because just to reiterate, I watched the unrated version for Drag Me to Hell, and it, because it's almost the exact same running time, basically, because they're both 99 minutes, so it's they either showed a little more or added a little more special effects, but there's nothing cut. From what I can tell, maybe they edited something differently. I don't know. But this movie, I don't know. I don't really want to watch the theatrical version of this after seeing the unrated version. It's done well, just a bit mixed. I feel mixed overall. Oh yeah, that guy from Inception's in it. That was cool. Cool seeing him. I would consider this the worst Sam Raimi film I've seen. I mean, saying that, this is still an above average movie. So, yeah. Good enough, I guess. Let's just move on. Okay, next up, I'm still debating whether or not to have put this on my list. I just put it in there for a really big change of stuff, but apparently this is a Scream Factory release, so that's one of the reasons why I decided to stay with it for my horror marathon, and that is Message from Space. I just think that title's so epic.
Is this really a horror film? I don't know, because it's like it has Scream Factory on the side. It doesn't have Shout Factory, so this must have some element of horror to it to be Scream Factory. But yeah, Message from Space. Anyways, the main reason why I picked this up, not only because it was on sale and it has a friggin' ship in space, like looks like a boat type ship, like that's cool. I don't know, just going off the cover here. But besides that, I mean, it's the cast. I mean, you got Vic Morrow, Sony Chiba. Sorry if I'm butchering anyone's names. And you got the director who did Battle Royale. Battle Royale is a tremendously great, well done film. The first one, I don't even want to mention that there's a second one, because that movie was awful. Seeing how good Battle Royale is, it's like, I mean, this one I assume, yeah, okay, so 1978, so that's like 20 years before Battle Royale. So I assume this is more early on in his career, or midway through his career. I don't know, but like, Message from Space.
I just watched Message from Space. You know what? For a Star Wars knockoff, pretty decent. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Couple little moments that stand out, but overall, not bad. Not bad at all. But I will say, I'm sorry, because even though it is labeled as Scream Factory, it's more like Shout Factory, because it's like, Scream Factory my ass. Okay, guess I'm gonna have to watch another horror film to make up for that. Time to watch Behind the Mask. The Rise of Leslie Vernon? I think I'm saying that name right. Not sure. The only reason I got this is because Robert Englund's in it. Like, it's that tagline. It's like Freddy, Jason, Michael, we all need someone to look up to. So it's like, it's trying to be something along those lines. And I mean, this movie came out, what, 12 years ago? Quite newer, but it's like, I guess it's just trying to be, like, I have no idea. Like, I don't remember seeing the trailers for anything of this growing up or whatever. Like, I haven't even really heard of this film. I don't know, is it good, like, spook? Like, I'm trying not to read the back, but, like, it's like, I guess they're trying to make their own iconic killer or whatever. But, anyways, I think I should just jump into it. Time to watch Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. One of the most brilliant horror films I have seen this year. Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon is absolutely amazing. Ever since they announced this movie for release for Scream Factory, the name of the movie kind of stuck out. I thought it was a very weird choice of name, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. But in the first minute of the movie, I sort of got what they were going for and why it's called Behind the Mask. At first I was like, oh, okay, so it's sort of like a mockumentary type, documentary type thing. I was like, oh, behind the music, it's like a play on, that sort of documentary type TV type show or whatever. So it's like, but instead of like music or rock history or whatever, it's horror. And it sort of implies that, like, I mean, this is the first minute or two of the movie, so it's not really major spoilers. That like, oh, Camp Crystal Lake and that Michael Myers, Nightmare on Elm Street, that all happened.
I really love the premise of it, and I mean, I love films about filmmaking in general, so it's like, and I love meta, and this is meta. This is a meta movie, and I loved every bit of it. I'm not gonna spoil it because I feel this movie is so good that it shouldn't be spoiled. Go into it knowing as little as possible is the best route with this movie. I just love the execution of this film. And my only complaint is one of the major reveals near the end of the movie. I guessed and was figuring, yeah, no, that's gonna happen. I knew it 30 minutes before the reveal, so it's like, it's it's kind of like, it was so good and clever that unfortunately, because I was thinking so much about the film, I kind of already knew what the sort of reveal was as soon as the whole basically ending of the movie started. Like at a certain point, I can't say what was spoiling it, but I'm just saying I just kind of wish that wasn't. To me, it's just that was the only downside. Is it was a little predictable there, but everything other than that, I'm perfect film. If you love, the main iconic horror people, then you would definitely like this movie. So good. I can't praise this film enough. I loved it. This is currently probably the best film I've seen for this year's horror marathon. I'm a bit tired, so I'm gonna go to bed. Get an early start tomorrow, because the next movie, I'm gonna have to be very quiet. Yeah. A movie I missed out in theaters. Stay tuned next time. And then it just cuts the next time.
The next
Time to watch A Quiet Place. Movie I missed out in theaters. Kind of super excited to see it just because John Krasinski. This is his first time directing a film. I think this is the first time directing a film. Well, at the very least, this is the first time him directing a horror film, and it's starring Emily Blunt, who is in real life his wife. So that's cool. What I'm hoping for is, because I really hope the silence is really well balanced, like audio wise compared to, because I find where movies where there should be no sound, they put something there just to put something there, and I always kind of dislike that effect. Like, for example, Paranormal Activity, I felt would be 100 times scarier if it didn't have the like that little bass in the background hum when something's about to happen, or it builds up sporadically throughout that franchise. So I kind of hope, A Quiet Place avoids that and avoids use of like soundtrack. Like if a song plays, that's fine, but like there should be no score for A Quiet Place until the credits roll. Like that's just my opinion. Yeah, so time to watch A Quiet Place. I just watched A Quiet Place. My gosh. A great original monster film overall. Well done. It's not perfect, but it was a great ride. I think the cast did a tremendous job, and this would have been probably a very hard movie just to, because, working with kids is not exactly easy, and some movies, when they have kids as cast, it doesn't work as well. But sometimes there's the rare cases where they do a really good job, and this is one of those movies where they did a really good job. Yeah, it definitely had that Cloverfield type feel to the movie.
I heard it almost was a Cloverfield movie at one point, but yeah, music didn't overpower too much. Like, it's weird because a part of me felt like the movie would have done not better, but it would have been much more, I don't know, realistic, gritty if, if they didn't have the music. But I kind of like the way they went back and forth between the music. It was a little jarring in sections with sound because, for example, there's one of the kids is deaf and can't hear, so whenever it goes to that perspective of the kid, it no sound. So it's like you go from hearing sounds to hearing no sounds in the next shot, and then sometimes you got the music playing as well, and then you got moments where it's like all the sounds become muffled as the music plays over it, like specifically any kind of sad moments or really intense moments, stuff like that. So it's like I kind of liked what they did, but at the same time I kind of didn't. But overall, I thought it was good. Anyways, I don't know what's next to review. I'm about to go see Overlord today, but I'm gonna do a separate review for that. I'm not gonna push it in with all these other movies reviews. Monday we got Resident Evil, the complete all the way up to final chapter, so that should be interesting. Yeah, I never played the games. So it would be interesting to see what it's like. I think probably the thing I'm going to be comparing it the most to is the Underworld trilogy. Or not trilogy. Underworld several thousand films that they did. Because that's really the only comparison I can really think of. But then again, it's like, it's based on a video game and it was able to make that many movies. It must be doing something, right? I don't know what I guess it's like, I don't know. I'm under the impression it's like, if Robot Chicken done anything with the GTA Mario, it's like there's Raccoon City and, it's like, I don't know, it's like zombies. I don't know, it's like zombies, creatures. Is this the franchise where that was a Pyramid Head is in? Or is it like a person with a pyramid head and he has like a scissors or sword or something? I don't know, I never played the game. Or am I thinking of something else? I guess, yeah, there's something about Umbrella Corporation. I don't know. I just watched Resident Evil, and oh boy, it was better than I thought it was gonna be. I really liked how the story, it was a bit weird at first, but like it definitely was cool movie to jump into, especially not knowing anything about it. I really liked sort of the structure of the story. I like these type of survival films where it's like you're in a place and then it's like you have to try and escape. It kind of reminded me like Deep Blue Sea and stuff like that. And I just thought it was cool. I really liked the sets, the areas. Like each location they went to was very creative. Like, though you could tell it's early 2000s, sort of like special effects in the terms of like the electronic stuff and the monsters. I definitely like the practical elements of the film. I think they still sort of hold up, but the CGI, it could have been worse, but still. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool movie. I just kind of wish some of it they committed a little more, because you're dealing with blood, gory scenes and all that, and it's like, you're gonna be rated R. Like in the beginning, there's a part where an elevator with someone's head getting caught in it, and it's like you don't actually show it, you cut away as if it was like a TV CSI flashback, because they don't actually show
the really violent part happening, they imply it happens, and it's like you couldn't actually commit. You didn't have it in the budget, to do a little, practical gore effects. Just a little disappointments like that, but overall, I was kind of more into the movie than I thought it would be. I can definitely see why this movie was a bit of a hit. I mean, it must have done something. I mean, they spawned several sequels afterwards. I kind of figured the ending was going to happen just because, the next movie's called Apocalypse. So, and also, I think the main girl, she's throughout the whole thing, so I kind of know she lives through the whole thing. I still don't know a lot of it going into it, so now I have an idea of it. I definitely like the setup and everything. The computer system with the Red Queen, like, a lot of the pieces, I was like, I kind of like how this is. Like, it felt like, I don't know how accurate it is in the game. I've heard it's not as, like, it's very loosely based on the games. That's what I heard, but, like, it felt like they took definitely pieces of the game, or they were inspired by certain sections, and then they sort of threw it in this movie, but still make it feel like cohesive. So yeah, I enjoyed Resident Evil. Kind of excited to see where it goes, but now it seems a little more expansive because we're no longer in the facility, so it's like, where is it gonna go from here on out? I'm not sure. But I'm kind of excited to find out. Well, I just watched Resident Evil Apocalypse, and wow, I'm surprised how much action is in this film. I guess the first one did very well because the budget has definitely gone up. Yeah, it was really neat. I'm kind of glad that they showed the whole city falling apart and going to hell instead of just, starting off exactly where the last one left. I definitely enjoyed that choice and introduced some new characters and all that. I have played, now that I remember it, I have played Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and that had some characters from Resident Evil, and Jill Valentine was one of them. And so I didn't clue in until she appeared on the screen. It's kind of it bugs me because I know Raccoon City is a fictional city. It's not like it's taking place in New York or anything, but it's a bit distracting when everywhere you go city-wise, it's like, oh, I know that place because they filmed in Toronto. My first big hit over the head was car crash very early on. One little frame, and it's so jarring. It was, I don't know how the hell the editor missed that, or I don't know, maybe they didn't have enough budget to cover it up, but you could clearly see the CN Tower in one little shot, which wouldn't bug me, but near the end of the film where you see a more wider shot of the city, they removed the CN Tower. So if they didn't remove the CN Tower from the other shots, then having the CN Tower there would have been fine. But they decided to remove it from all the other shots. The ending climax was at Nathan Fillion Square, the City Hall of Toronto, and it's like, that was cool. You could tell the Toronto transit system, like, oh man, yeah, I'm really enjoying this franchise. Like, I'm just surprised because I actually thought it wouldn't be that great, but 2 movies in, it's pretty great. I love how, because I totally forgot to mention the first movie did have some ridiculous moments, but they were kind of awesome and so short little moments that are ridiculously awesome that, like, it didn't disrupt the film too much. And as like this one kept the same style as the first one, only just made it bigger and everything. Like the church scene, like there's so many scenes where it's like wow, that was a fun ride. well, I might as well spoil it because I'm gonna be reviewing this whole series. It looks like. I mean, the Nemesis thing. Like, I loved how that wasn't CGI. Like, it was. I mean, I don't know about the bullets and all that, but like you could tell it's like a mask, like not mask, but like makeup, and it looks good. It looks a hell of a lot better than the CGI. I'm just glad those CGI creatures had only a little part in this entire movie. I definitely want to see where it goes because it's like, I don't know. I have a feeling it's not gonna get better than the first two. It's just because I mean, you ended off with nuking the city, and it's like, isn't Raccoon City like the main city in this franchise? I don't know. I'm shocked to see Gerard Harris in this. Though the script didn't really give him that much to do or work off of, which is quite unfortunate. 2 thumbs up. So next up is Resident Evil Extinction? I think that's the next one. I just watched Resident Evil Extinction? Yeah. Yeah. Not as good as the first two. Though I found it quite interesting how different each film has been so far. Like, the first one seemed like a mission, enclosed space, survival, try to escape type movie with some surprises and whatnot. And the second one was like Apocalypse. I mean, that's the title of it. It's like end of the world, try to escape the city type thing as everything's going to hell. And then it's like, this movie is like, sort of has that Mad Max feel, desert, trying to survive after a major, end of the world type thing. So it's like, each film is being different, so that's kind of cool. This one sort of expanded a little bit more, but then at the same time I'm like, it was okay. Kind of want to see what's next, because the ending of this one with having, many of her, and then you also got the setup of there's umbrella corporations in every other part of the world, and so she's going after them. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do in that situation? If I was in her situation, I would go after them too, It gives me a purpose, Gotta hunt down the umbrella corporations, make everyone pay. Time to watch Resident Evil Afterlife, I think it's called. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. I just watched Resident Evil Afterlife. Yeah, this series has definitely gone a bit downhill, but then again, it's like after the second one, it's like, where else is there to go? It's like, it's all the aftermath of the whole world's been taken over. So, and you got basically OP character of Alice, and then you now introduce another guy to rival her that's also OP, and then it's like, and then they try to recapture the first one, I guess, with the enclosed environment and them trying to escape, and then it's like at the prison. Couple little, I guess, cool fight scenes, I guess. Nowhere near as great as the first two, once again. Though I gotta say, I do kind of like the ending cliffhanger here, but at the same time, I kind of don't. It's kind of weird. A little boss battle in the middle was kind of cool. Kind of weird and out of left field, but I'm not complaining. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I might have got Pyramid Head mixed up. I think I might have mixed up Resident Evil with Silent Hill. Yeah, I haven't played any of those games either, so no wonder why I got the two mixed up. I mean, there's 2 more movies left, so there's Retribution and the final chapter. Because, when you have a major franchise, you gotta end with the final chapter, for a title. But yeah, this movie did suffer a bit because action scenes wise, you could tell 3D had to be involved from the way they shot some of the stuff, like, slow motion, everything in your face, froze the glasses, the giant axe, like, everything is like in your face. Even though it didn't say, the title of the movie didn't say it was 3D, so I'm kind of happy they didn't name the movie Resident Evil 3D Afterlife, whatever. I don't know how they're going to get out of this pickle. I mean, at this point, it's like, the whole world's taken over. There's really no safe place at this point. Umbrella Corporation just somehow keeps surviving, and it's like, at this point in the franchise, it's like, just kill yourself. Like, honestly, like, there's nothing else to, like, what's the point of fighting and trying to live? It's like, it seems to be no hope, so it's like, how is this gonna end? You just keep surviving on the run until you accidentally screw up and then you die anyway, so it's like, this series is gonna be depressing for the next 2 movies, isn't it? Resident Evil Retribution. At this point, it's getting a little stupid. Well, a little is putting it lightly. It may be stupid, but it's still somewhat entertaining. It's kind of cool that now it's finally getting to the final chapter, so everything's colliding. At this point, I'm just along for the ride. Though I will say, I did like the music in this one a lot more. Like, the score. Yeah, because it's just crazy, and then it was like, what was the point of the last movie going after the bad guy when it turns out betraying the Umbrella Corporation? And it's like, I mean, plot's a little, does it really make sense? But at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't care. It kind of works. Good enough for me. Time to watch Resident Evil, the last chapter. What will win? What will happen? Will they win? Will they lose? The stakes are now the highest. Woo! Well, I just watched Resident Evil, the complete collection, ending it off finally with the final chapter, and I have to say, I guess they did a decent job of making it come around full circle. Like, at certain points for this franchise, I'm like, where the hell is this gonna go next? Like, there's nowhere else it can really go, and then somehow they managed to make it sort of come together, so decent enough ending. I just kind of wish they didn't just, throw out the ending of the last movie. I mean, the ending of the last movie, the 5th one, was like, it was like really epic, and then it's like filled, and then it's like the next one, it's like, it was a trap by the guy who was the main bad guy, but then turned into the good guy, or it's implied he was a good guy. It was just a trap so he could kill them all along with more humans. So it's like, I kind of wish I saw that whole betrayal. Like, that would have been a cool opening sequence. It seemed like there's parts in this franchise where it just felt like they cut and paste from the game. Like for example, I don't even remember her name. The girl that was in the last movie they introduced with the red dress. Like, why is she wearing that red dress? I mean, the only reason she's wearing that red dress is because probably that's what her character wears in the game. I don't know. Very interesting franchise overall. Like, yeah, first 2 I felt was the best and had the most potential. Next up, tomorrow, Misery Loves Company. With 2 classic horror movies from the 90s. In case you haven't guessed, I am watching Misery for the first time. I mean, all these movies I'm watching for the first time, but anyways, Misery. I'm excited for. Kathy Bates and James Caan and the director Rob Reiner, who, if I remember correctly, he did Princess Bride and This Is Spinal Tap. I haven't seen This Is Spinal Tap, but I want to see that movie. I just wish they made a really good Blu-ray release of it. Hear that, Criterion? Yeah, so I'm excited. This is also Stephen King novel adaptation. I haven't read the book. But I do have an idea of the movie. Because I believe I saw a Family Guy did an episode where it was like free of Stephen King stories, and one of them I believe was Misery. But the idea I think is a writer guy, you know, like, was it crashes or gets lost in the forest or whatever, and then gets saved by somebody, and it's an isolated part of the world, like wilderness, but like in a cabin in the woods. But she's like, he's a writer, and she's like a really big fan of that writer and his series of books. So it's like, she wants to keep him there, sort of type thing. That's all I know. And I assume at one point a sledgehammer gets involved. If I'm going off of the Scream Factory poster and slipcover. I'm excited. Well, that was miserable. Misery. No, it was great. This is a great film. Yeah, the Family Guy sort of parody of this movie did kind of a little bit spoil it, but there was still a decent amount of surprises that I didn't know about. I especially loved the two orchestra moments with the writing montage, and they were playing like Tchaikovsky, and then the Moonlight Sinatra scene. I Moonlight Sinatra has not been used. I haven't heard it and seen it used so effectively than this movie. So yeah, every time I hear that song now, I'm gonna be thinking of this that moment. Yeah, great movie. I enjoyed it. Scream Factory transfer looked pretty good. I mean, I haven't seen any other version of it, so I can't tell if it's an amazing transfer, but it looked pretty damn good for 1990s. It's another great Stephen King film. Anyways, moving on. Next up, we got John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. Now, apparently this is part of the ending of the Apocalypse trilogy, but I don't, because I've seen a decent amount of John Carpenter films by now, but I can't think which ones are the other Apocalypse ones. Like, is Prince of Darkness one of them? I don't know. Excited to see Sam Neill from Jurassic Park, and it's really all I know about the film. I'm assuming, because I'm just guessing from the Scream Factory cover, I assume, I don't know, I assume it's crazy, kind of cult related, but then again, the tagline of the original poster sort of made me think maybe it's about something else, so I don't know, I'm just sort of going into it sort of blindly, so time to watch In the Mouth of Madness, and I'm excited. Well, I'm not gonna lie, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness was a bit confusing for me. I mean, I understand the whole book premise of it, and I thought it was kind of cool that John Carpenter took the idea and just sort of played around with it, but yeah, I mean, first time watching, it's kind of hard to watch in the sense that it's like, you don't really understand what it's going for until it starts going for it, and then, you know, helps explain a bit, but then, once you get into it, and then it's like, okay, I understand what's happening, I understand where it's going, and then it's like, and then the ending left me with more questions than answers. Still enjoyed it, but this is definitely, I wouldn't mind rewatching it, but definitely a crazy experience overall, and definitely got the name of the movie right. In the Mouth of Madness it is indeed. Anyways, next up we got, I'm going to be watching two movies from around the year 2008. I'm about to watch M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening. Yeah, that movie. I remember seeing the trailers when this movie was, when I was in theaters seeing better movies. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't knock it, but I've heard it's bad. But I remember seeing the trailers back then and being young, 2008, I was 14 years old, so I was like, oh, why are all these people killing themselves? I don't understand. I'm interested in this movie. Never saw it, because obviously what parent would take their kids to go see, or young adult at this point, to go see that movie. The Happening. I always like the title though, because I always joke, it's like, oh, what's happening? The Happening. No, what's happening? It's The Happening. I used to run that joke into the ground, and it was already on the ground to begin with. Yeah, so it's M. Night Shyamalan, and the funny thing is I haven't actually seen a lot of M. Night Shyamalan. I've only seen The Visit, Split, that's about it. I haven't even seen the good M. Night Shyamalan movies. Like, really good M. Night Shyamalan movies. But the funny thing is, I kinda, because of the way internet and stuff, I think I already know, I think a majority of M. Night Shyamalan movies I haven't seen have been spoiled for me. Particularly with The Happening. So it's like, what's causing all this sudden chaos? And it's like, are you ready for the spoiler? Apparently it's the plants, the grass, the nature.
What a twist!
I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if that's actually true, or maybe it's exaggerating it a bit. I don't know. I'm about to find out though. Ugh, where to begin with The Happening? Oh man. Oh, this felt incredibly staged. Like, just in terms of Mark Wahlberg and, what's the name of her? Is she even listed here? Like, the cast in this movie are all, can be good actors, can do a really good job of acting. I've seen them in films where they do really well. And it's like, the thing is about this movie is I definitely feel like directing and writing is the two big issues with this movie. Like, wow. First of all, dialogue. Like, you have moments where they're like explaining something, or there's like a hypothesis or something, or they say something and then it's like as if they were gonna continue saying something, and then all of a sudden they're talking about something else, like a hot dog, and then after a couple sentences of that, it goes back to what they were saying previously. Like, it just, oh my god, the dialogue. Oh man, and the way it was shot and all that, like, most of the time, like, it felt like it was like whenever it's something really dramatic, it's always the camera's like this, like it's like really pretty damn close, like that. Only it would be in focus because somebody would be actually manning the camera. Yeah, for starters, the trailer. Every major thing in the trailer was in here, but like there was nothing really left surprise-wise for like them killing themselves, because they showed just a little bit more and before cutting to something else. So it's like just, it barely even committed to that. It's definitely felt, I guess, more like disaster type film, but even then it's like there's a lot of moments where I'm like, usually in disaster films there's like a conflict, person is like, no, we shouldn't do that, we should do this, or stuff like that. And it's like, it felt like there was nothing like that throughout this entire film. Like, there's a scene in a diner, it's like, we're gonna, if we stay here, we're gonna die. And then another guy stands up as if he was gonna, like, counter or something, and say, not with that attitude or whatever, but he doesn't even acknowledge him, and it's just like, hey, let's all leave. And then it's like, they all leave. And that's the other thing, it's like, it just came back from the train scene. So the train scene, they got stopped, and everyone was off the train, and then all of a sudden they're all eating at a diner. And so it's like when they all go to leave, they're all hop into cars and leave, and it's like, most of you came by train. Were your cars waiting at that diner? Like there's little things like that as problems. Like a whole scene played out with like 2 lines of dialogue, and as like there was sort of a conflict brewing with say her name, Zoe Deschanel. I hope I'm saying that right. She's like, she in the one scene they're walking, and then all of a sudden she like breaks, not even break down, more like just say, oh, I had a conflict on my mind. Someone at work, we went out, had some dessert. I lied it to you over the phone. I said I was still at work, and then he's like, what? You lied to me? And then the scene end. It cut to later on. And it's like, if this was any sort of other movie, this would be like a whole scene onto itself. And then it gets brought up later on. Randomly, Mark Wahlberg initiates it, and it's one, like there was intentionally, I can't tell if it was intentionally funny or unintentionally funny. Like, there was moments throughout this film where I'm like, there's no way they made this specific moment without them being under the pretense that it was supposed to be comedy. Like, and then there's the moments where it's like, obviously, yeah, it's definitely comedy. Like, the talking to the plant scene, which, you know, it's just, the twist wasn't, I mean, twist is usually, like, calling this movie and the plant thing a twist is very loose, because it's like 30 minutes into the movie, not even 20 minutes, they already sort of figured it's plant related, and then it's like, you come across a character, like there's no big shocking twist to this movie at all, which is very weird, because it is M. Night Shyamalan. He's known for twists, but it's like, even though that was spoiled for me, but like it felt really obvious as well, because it's like starting off, it's like, oh, it's in a park in New York, and then it's like a park elsewhere, and it's like you have Mark Wahlberg doing that whole speech in the classroom about nature and some things we just don't understand, like it's above what we're reasoning, and it's like, oh man, it's just obvious, but it's also at the same time mostly obvious. Yeah, it's like, oh man. But yeah, there was nothing really. I mean, really, the probably for me the closest thing to like a shocking part scene would be the shotgun scene, and I was actually surprised they actually did that part. I think you know what part I'm talking about, because I was like, wow, that was actually, you know, that was probably the most unexpected part of the scene. Actually, that was probably the most unexpected part of the movie for me. It's very weird, like shot with the, you know, slow motion and all that, like. It had those cheesy moments, but it wasn't too cheesy. It was just you felt it was bad, but not a so bad it's good type movie, and it's, you know, it just borderline had enough unintentionally funny moments to make it, you know, manageable to watch. It was pretty short too. It was 90 minutes. Usually disaster movies are a bit longer and all that. So another thing is, like, I totally forgot until, because this movie is 2008, right? 2008. And near the end of the movie, there's a backpack that's shown on screen that is a Avatar: The Last Airbender backpack. And right in that brief moment of seeing that logo, it all came back to me. I totally forgot. I saw M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender in theaters
Oh gosh, I actually suppressed that movie, and then all the memories came rushing back of that film once I saw the backpack. And he did that movie like a year or two after that happened, right? It was like 2009 or 10. Oh man, I don't understand because like M. Night Shyamalan can do really good movies. Like The Visit is not a bad film at all. And kind of neat experience overall. And then Split, well, it's pretty amazing, well done film in general. And I'm excited to see a couple of his other films. But like, I don't know, it's weird how M. Night Shyamalan just has this little brief period where it's like, or not really brief, but like there's a period in his filmography where it's just, his films don't, I don't know if maybe it was just timing, or maybe it was other cast and crew, maybe it was the studio, but it just, this movie felt really just not well done. I think I've wasted enough time with this movie. Moving on. Oh yeah, what movie am I watching next? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm watching The Strangers. I don't really know this film at all that much. Like, I did heard of the title, like I'm familiar there is a series of movies related to The Strangers. Like, not a lot of movies, but like I think there was a new one recently, The Strangers Pray at Night or something like that. But like The Strangers, I don't really know anything. I guess it's like, you know, house invasion type movie. I don't know. Like, you got people wearing creepy masks. Like, oh, that's you know, sounds like a jolly good horror time, you know. Also came out in 2008, same year as The Happening, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a better movie than The Happening. I can almost guarantee that, and I haven't even seen the film. I just watched The Strangers, and wow. Extremely well done. I mean, you know it's gonna be a good horror film where in the first 30 minutes of the movie you're so engrossed with character story that they set up, you're so invested in that you don't forget you're watching a horror film. You're just that much more invested when stuff hits the fan. I think they did a tremendously good job with this film. Just the way it was, you know, shot and decisions and all that. Like, really great film from start to finish. Like, kind of wish the tagline, "Because you were home," wasn't really on the cover, because that was sort of like, not really a shocking revelation, but it was, like, it would have been nice not knowing that going into it. It's like, if you didn't know the reason going into it, and then you discover that's the reason, like, it's, I especially love that they didn't show the killer's, like, faces. Like, even there's, like, when they take off their masks and all that, like, they chose not to show it, and I think great, like, it was just great horror film. I did watch the unrated version, because that was longer running time than the theatrical version, so I don't know how much difference this is. It's like 6-minute difference between the theatrical and unrated version, so I'm not sure what exactly would be different. I wouldn't mind watching it again with that, but I definitely loved the first shot with the guy with the bag over his head. Like, the first reveal shot of him, like that. It's so much more intense and scarier, where there's no music or audio cue of him appearing. It's just amazing that they actually went through, like, they didn't. Oh, and then the music choices, and then the like, oh man, the record skips, like, oh, so well done. Great use of the set. Like, the thing is, with movies where it takes place more in one setting or one area, it's like you have
take full advantage of it, and I think they did a really good job. Just lay out where everything went, where it went, the planning of them making this film. Like, anyways, next up is gonna be the sequel to The Return of the Living Dead. I saw the first Return of the Living Dead last year. Check out my last year's 31 Days of Horror Just Watched Movies. Gotta think of a better title. It's a bit long. But anyways, so the second one I'm excited for. Great. Now I have hiccups again. The first one was pretty crazy. And for the most part, I had a pretty fun time with it. It was actually also kind of funny in certain sections. Part 2, I wonder... I haven't watched Return of the Living Dead since last year. It's like... I thought it ended really crazy. Like, I thought, like, whole places get blown up and stuff like that. I don't know. I can't remember the specific ending of the movie. I remember the build-up, but, like... I wonder where it goes. I do know, I think there's a part 3 and 4 for Return of the Living Dead. And I wonder if Scream Factory's going to pick that up for the next year. Because last year was Return of the Living Dead. This year is Return of the Living Dead. So maybe they'll get 3 and 4 or the other sequels in the future. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to be watching that tomorrow. I am tired. And after The Strangers, I'm gonna see if I can sleep tonight. Ooh. I just watched Return of the Living Dead Part 2. It's a bad film, but it is an enjoyable bad film. Like, not too enjoyable, so don't get ahead of yourself, but like, there was enough to keep me hanging on for the entire film. Once again, heavy special effects and makeup, but done in its style of the first one. Like, it's the first one is definitely a lot better than this one, but it was still decent enough as a sequel. Though I don't really think the only thing related is the zombies and the barrel and the army. That's basically the only connection to the first one that I can remember, but like, I somewhat enjoyed it, even though the dialogue was like, it's so bad it's good. It's one of those type of films. Time for the second last film. This film wasn't originally. I originally did not schedule this film for this year. I wanted to save it for next year. Part of me kind of really wants to see it, and that is Trick or Treat. Another reason why I'm scheduling this in is because I felt Message from Space was not that horror of a... Actually, it wasn't even horror, period. It was more sci-fi, adventure, Star Wars. But yeah, so to make up for that, I'm watching Trick or Treat this year. So I'm quite excited because my friend from Toronto Film School suggested for me to watch this film, but that was, a couple of years ago. Apparently it's very good. One of the best, modern, horror films, especially anthology films ever made. So I'm definitely going to be comparing it to Cat's Eye, because that's probably my favorite anthology film I've ever seen is Cat's Eye. It's the only anthology film I've seen where it's like, I liked all 3 stories and enjoyed all 3 stories. Because usually with anthology films, I always find there's at least one story or one part where it's like, I don't really like it. So I wonder if Trick or Treat's gonna actually beat that for me. But Anne Paquin and Brian Cox, who was in the X-Men franchise, but that's the only thing I know cast-wise from just looking at the Scream Factory art and the names on there. But I'm kind of excited. When does this movie come out? I was must be 10 years old at this point. My cousin really enjoys this film, In fact, when I mentioned that I was gonna add this onto my list for horror movies, he's like, "Oh, that it's such a good film." It's like he said he just watched it again for like the 5th time this this year. So it's like, oh, okay. I guess it's good. So time to watch Trick or Treat. I just watched Trick or Treat, and boy, was it a trick and a treat. I probably would say this is probably one of the best made anthology movies I've ever seen. Though I still kind of love Cat's Eye just a bit more, but I love the whole sort of just how interwoven each thing was, because with anthology stories usually it's stereotypical. Here's one beginning, middle, and the transition to the next one, beginning, middle, end, next story. Like, it's usually that thing, but this decides to take 4 stories and then have them really interwoven. And it's not just casual throwaway, oh, there's a little bit there, a little bit there. No, it had moments like that, but it had like, I don't know how to describe it. It was just so well mixed and just well done. I definitely would like to see what the edit of this movie would be like if it was in order and running side by side, because some things did happen before, after, and during other things. And great job. I actually think I'm gonna keep the poster for Scream Factory for this one, because I think it's very, because I love Halloween. Halloween is my favorite holiday, and it's not even a holiday. It should be a holiday. I will say though that that trick-or-treating demon is I like how they use him sort of like the symbol for trick-or-treat and like the icon for this whole movie, and I just so good. Next up is the last one. So last year I watched It Chapter 1 for the first time, and so I figured with timing it would be great for Halloween to see the new Halloween movie, and that's what I'm gonna do. The problem is it is November and mid-November, and this is literally the last week for showings for Halloween. So, and I'm trying to time it to go with my cousin because he loves horror movies, and I don't think he's seen the new Halloween movie yet. I know my friend has seen it, and also my friend from Toronto Film School, he saw it at TIFF. He said it was good, and lots of kills, and it's a little bit on the funny side, which I thought was weird, but what's his name? I was gonna say Martina McBride. Danny McBride, the comedian guy who's done a bunch of other comedies and whatnot, like This Is the End, I know he was in that. He wrote the new Halloween movie, and so he probably added just a little bit of humor, but apparently he was there for a Q&A and said that after hearing the reaction at TIFF for Halloween, he kind of second-guessed himself by saying, well, I don't know his exact quote, but like he was talking about how he might have made it a little too more he might have made it a bit too much funny. Just imagine you're dealing with a horror franchise of 40 years. Yeah, this is the 40th year for Halloween, the very first one, and I've heard that the only thing I've really heard other than that is that the Halloween 2 and all the sequels did not happen in this new Halloween movie. Basically, the only thing that's happened is the very first movie. And then the second movie takes place, well, the one I'm about to see, the new one, takes place 40 years after the first one. So it's like they're actually not including anything that was introduced or happened in the second and onwards.
and I'm kind of excited to see what they do with it because I rewatched the original Halloween in theaters last month, and I was reminded just how much, I mean, slow burn but really well done. It's basically the slasher film that spawned everything like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and all those other classic ones. Even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre did happen first, but this Halloween was like one of the early first ones for, guy running around with some sort of sharp tool that isn't motorized that I know of. And so it's like, I'm just reminded how much of the movie was more mysterious, more random. Because if I remember correctly, in the second one, it is introduced that Laurie Strode is related to Michael Myers. If I remember correctly, they have some sort of family connection, and then that happens for the rest of the sequels, excluding the third one, which I love. I love the third one. I just really wish John Carpenter stuck and his team stuck to the guns of. It was supposed to be an anthology thing where it's like Halloween 1, Halloween 2, that's one story. Halloween 3, Halloween 4 was another story, and then Halloween 5 and 6 would have been a different story. And even though it was very popular, I really wish they stuck to it, because that ending cliff, like the third movie I love, and I really wanted to see what they were going to do for the fourth one, but because audiences members didn't know what they were doing, they were like, oh, where's Michael Myers? How do you do a movie about Michael Myers? And even though he had a little cameo in the movie, it's like, just insert rant about the Halloween series here, but like, oh man. But, anyway, so Halloween, pretty excited for, want to see how it goes.
Here we go, everyone. It's Halloween time, even though it's way past Halloween. Today is November 20th. Wow. A month and a half ago, I started my 31 days of just watched horror movies, and look how late I am. Oh my gosh, it's going to be another 2 weeks before I get this done. Anyways, I haven't watched it yet, but today is the very last showing nearby. Because as of tomorrow, the closest theater that will have Halloween is in downtown Toronto, and I don't feel like going that far, especially in Canadian winter. Anyways, so yeah, I'm super excited to watch the Halloween movie. I definitely want to see where it goes, because it, from what I've heard, it doesn't include any of the sequels, so it's literally right after the first movie. 40 years later, this happened. So it's like everything that is not done second, third, fourth, they might go in a different direction. Will they do the same thing? Is it going to feel like a remake, or is it going to feel like an actual continuation? I know John Carpenter gave his seal of approval with the script and all that, and he also reimagined the score for Halloween. Or is it more of a continuation of the score? I don't know. Like, I assume it's going to have some familiar tunes, but just like more newer John Carpenter, or like maybe he changed it up. Ooh. Maybe he plays the same theme but backwards. I don't even imagine what it would sound like backwards. Yeah, I just wonder, is it going to be too comedic? Or is it going to have a nice balance? I don't know. Super excited to end off my horror marathon with this movie. So time to watch Halloween! I just watched the new Halloween movie, and oh boy. That was great. At first I was a little bit afraid that they decided not to do the older style intro, but they did not disappoint. Actually, I just loved how, even though it is a modern movie, it's still, they and it was done modernly, like just the way it was shot and all that. They did stuff that, you know, they couldn't really do back then in terms of camera work and all that, and did it with such ease, and it felt pretty real and all that. But then it's like they actually created it stylistic. It felt like it was pretty much a continuation of the Halloween franchise right after the first one, like minus the, you know, 40-year gap between it. It just, like, even the dialogue and all that, like, it felt like one of those older classic movies, but you can tell it's modern day with the vehicles and, you know, cell phones and all that. And it's like, I heard it was great, and it was great. It matched expectations perfectly. I especially loved there's several scenes and moments where I'm like, yeah, that, well done. Like, oh, like, movie just came out, but movie didn't really just came out. It came out like a month ago. But it's, oh man, the music. Oh, John Carpenter. Ooh, gotta get. Just another reminder. I have to pick up the entire Halloween franchise CD or iTunes or something. Like, gotta get all that awesome music. But this soundtrack definitely is gonna be a welcome addition. Some of it actually sounded like. The sound was so good it felt good. No, the music was like, it actually, some of it reminded me of like his Lost Themes album, but it's Halloween, and it still felt like Halloween, like. Oh, well done. The movie wasn't too fun. Like, me sitting there and watching it, there was some people in the theater, and I don't think anybody really laughed. I think I'm the only one who did laugh. But at certain parts, but it wasn't really a lot. It wasn't overly comedic. I felt it was just a really good mix. It felt like the original Halloween. The original Halloween did have some joke type banters and all that, or like little moments and all that, but in this there might have been a bit more, but it didn't bother me at all movie wise watching it. I definitely liked some of the choices and surprises. I loved the intro and how it went right into the credits, and after the intro started played out, and it just, I thought production wise was surprisingly probably one of the coolest parts of the films. Like, parts, like the houses and stuff that it looked like they probably did make or try to find, had a lot of callbacks to the first one, and I did like that. And there's a couple moments where they did, if you've seen the original, you know what's gonna, little moments about to happen, sort of type thing. Little moments like that, which I felt the way they did it felt more like a really good reference. Like, I just gotta say, I thought it was absolutely great. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the Halloween movie 2018. It's kind of, that's the only thing I thought was weird, because I'm actually surprised they didn't call it something added on to Halloween just to make it different. But then again, it's like, what else could they have called it? Because if they called it Halloween 2, you would get confused with Halloween 2. And they're like, you know what, let's just call it Halloween. And so I kind of like that. There's a couple little moments where I'm like, if I was part of the production or whatever, I would have changed just little things, but nothing major. I think there might have been one little mistake with the tattoo, but I would have to rewatch the movie to confirm if that is the case, because it's like, it's 40 years after the original, and then they establish what year it was in the Halloween with that tattoo, and so it looked like it was the wrong year if it was the 40th. That's the only really error I sort of picked up. But yeah, but I don't know if it happened so fast. I love trying to find Michael Myers because it's like, where's Waldo? Horror edition. It's like, I just loved the staging of that, like whenever he's in the background or whatever, or getting stuff, like it's not bluntly showing him getting it, and it's fun to sort of look for, especially for the first time. And actually, after seeing the movie, I actually think maybe I missed him in one scene or two. Like it's that sort of was he in more? Was he always watching? Like, had to do double take in the theater. No, but yeah, Halloween was I thought it was a really great continuation from the first one.
So thank you very much for tuning in to this year's 31 Days of Just Watch Horror Movies. I hope you enjoyed at least some, if not all, of this video. Thank you very much for watching. I want you to have a nice day or night or whatever time you watch this. Have a nice whatever. And now, if you excuse me, I have some videotapes I need to return. Video's over.